you seen Star Wars?
This will be a fun topic to talk about. Dave Filoni, who wrote and was the supervising director of both the Clone Wars series and Star Wars Rebels, took his first step into live action by directing chapters 1 and 5 of The Mandalorian. Well, in a recent panel discussing The Mandalorian, Dave Filoni sung the praises of director Rian Johnson, who created the controversial Star Wars film Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Dave said, Rian Johnson, I gotta say, was really instrumental for me as far as, driving me and getting me right up to the camera with him in the DP and then blocking a scene. He was very supportive of my early ever because I'm the kind of person that if I ever show up on a big movie set, I want to be invisible. And since it was a panel discussion, he kind of got interrupted a little bit, changed what he was saying halfway with the early ever. He might have been trying to say early endeavor, I'm not entirely sure. But what's funny about this is that most fans now treat Filoni like he's some god in Star Wars that can do absolutely no wrong. And Rian Johnson is the devil to a lot of these extreme fans. So seeing Dave Filoni praise Rian Johnson and basically say he's learned a lot from the guy is just ironic in so many ways. Say what you will about Rian Johnson as a writer, because I've said many times on my channel, I do not think he's as good of a writer that he thinks he is, or that his fans would like to say he is, but I'd be lying to you if I said Rian Johnson is not a good director. In fact, you could say he's a great director, and The Last Jedi had some of the best cinematography out of all the Star Wars films. So I think for someone like Dave Filoni, who is trying to learn more about making films and how to properly shoot and block a scene, learning from someone like Rian would provide great insight. One of my big complaints of the Star Wars fandom is that they want Dave Filoni to direct a Star Wars film. And I don't think he should, at least at the moment, because the man formerly had no experience in live action, and directing a film is no easy gig, just ask George Lucas. So when Dave started to work on the Mandalorian series and directed 2 episodes, it became clear that this man is interested in using different formats to tell his stories in the Star Wars universe. Making the switch from animation to live action was a huge leap for Dave Filoni, and I think it brings his value as a storyteller up tremendously. Now, hearing that he went from sets of Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Episode 8, The Last Jedi, it's clear that he's still a student in this game, just trying to learn in any way he can. It's also important to note that Lucasfilm is backing Dave Filoni on this endeavor. Filoni said himself that Kathleen Kennedy was the person who set up these tours for Dave in order to visit and learn more about the filmmaking process. So it looks like Dave Filoni has Kathleen Kennedy's full support in learning how to make live-action Star Wars, which now might just mean him working on The Mandalorian, but if he continues to work on that series and maybe direct more live-action Star Wars shows, we could see Dave direct his own Star Wars movie in 8 to 10 years from now. This man is a natural storyteller, which is why I think it makes no sense that the fans try to limit his possibilities and say he should be Lucasfilm president. I mean, what are you talking about here? Dave Filoni should never be Lucasfilm president. He should remain as a creative executive for Star Wars, and we should back him in these creative endeavors to learn more about filmmaking so we could potentially see him take up the director's chair if that's what the fandom truly wants. I also really want to see this fandom's response to this specific topic. Dave Filoni is praised non-stop by Star Wars fans who claim to hate the new Disney Star Wars content, and most of this hate started after Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi was released. So I wonder how they'll try to spin the praise their saviors are giving to a man they hate so much, and that they still complain about him 3 years after his film releases. It also makes me want to see if Dave Filoni will end up being one of the directors for Rian Johnson's trilogy. Rian is supposed to write and direct one of the films out of his trilogy, so that leaves 2 spots open for the director's chair for the other 2 films. Could Dave Filoni work with Rian for his 2nd or 3rd episode in the trilogy? Could you imagine seeing a Star Wars film that ends with directed by Dave Filoni, written by Rian Johnson? Hell, let's even add Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau as executive producers of the film too. I'd be down for it 100%. Hey, actually come to think of it, that might not happen because Rian Johnson likes to have the guy, what is his name, Ron Bergman or something like that. There's a guy who he works with and just always produces his films. But maybe he wouldn't be the executive producer, maybe he would just be the actual producer of the film. So maybe we could still have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau as executive producers for either the Rian Johnson trilogy or the film that Rian Johnson lets Dave Filoni direct. I mean, we just have to wait and see. I doubt that'll happen, but it's just some food for thought. But you don't see a lot of Star Wars fans talk about this news because it doesn't fit the Rian Johnson bad narrative narrative when your hero, Dave Filoni, that everyone loves to suck up to nowadays, comes out and says Rian Johnson was a big help for him in learning the ropes of live-action film and television making? I wonder what would happen if George Lucas came out and said Rian Johnson's film The Last Jedi was his favorite out of the new films. Would the fandom cover this news, or would it still not fit with their narrative that Rian Johnson is just bad? Either way, props to Dave Filoni for expanding his knowledge in the world of storytelling, and props to Rian Johnson for being one of the many people to teach him along the way. I'm interested in seeing the pair team up one day for a Star Wars project just to see the kinds of narratives that the fandom would cook up for it. But leave me your thoughts below. Do you think Dave Filoni should work with Rian Johnson in the future and maybe direct a film that Rian Johnson writes? And what do you think about Rian Johnson teaching Dave Filoni a little bit about the filmmaking process while making Episode 8, The Last Jedi? Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe because it does help out the channel. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.